Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Daily Fantasy Digest Podcast, the all-inclusive podcast where we talk all things fantasy sports to help give you an edge. I am your host, Joe Bewer, and I'm going to be breaking down the May 30th slate here on Draftkings. It's a 7-game slate for the main slate, and I'm going to be breaking down my favorite pitchers and bat stacks of the day. Currently, as of now, when I'm recording this video, the stacks from last video, being the Baltimore Orioles, is playing out really well so far. Keon Broxton has already hit a homer. Blake Snell didn't exactly pan out the way that everybody wanted. He did end up being chalk, but Pablo Lopez, my GPP call, is currently pitching a great game. So that's going to be most likely a winning lineup from that video, which is great to see. Nevertheless, let's jump into today's top plays, starting with favorite pitcher, Chris Sale. So Yankees have been on a bit of a hot spell lately, but Chris Sale is just absolutely incredible. The Ks, over 10 or more Ks in 3 of the past 4 games. It has a bit of not really a tough matchup in my opinion. I think Chris Sale is going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. I think his price is a little bit high, which might scare people off of him, but the fact that Ryu is even higher than him, I know that he's facing the Mets, but I'd rather take the savings of 400 and go Chris Sale here. I think Chris Sale is going to be the best pitcher on the slate, in my opinion. And the other pitchers that are over 10K, Mike Minor and Charlie Morton, just to have matchups that just aren't enticing to me. I know Kansas City strikes out a little bit, but they're a streaky team, and I see that they could put some potential hurt on Mike Minor. So I'm going to go ahead with the safer play and go with Chris Sale. He's going to be the only pitcher that I think I'm going to play over 10K tomorrow. I do want to mention a few lower tier plays. First one being Carlos Carrasco. I think that he's going to be fairly owned, the 30 or 40%. Has some good stuff, just hasn't been able to really put together a great streak of games this season. So I think Carlos Carrasco could be another safe cash play. But if you plug him in, it doesn't really leave you with a lot of batting options, and that's not somewhere that I'm going to want to go. But Carrasco would be a safe cash play for SP2. 2 players that I want to mention here. I think that this Boston game is going to be low scoring. I do want to double it back with J.A. Happ for the most part. I think that Happ has just been, pretty good as of late. Hasn't really let up too many runs other than this Baltimore game here. But this season has been just a different story for Happ. He's on a $400 discount after putting up a 30 fantasy point game with 10 Ks versus KC away. And he's going to be at home here where he does pitch way better. And Boston has just not been the team that they were last year. So I do like a play of J.A. Happ tomorrow with Chris Sale because I do think the game is just going to be low scoring. So, it's tough to do that when you want to play those pitchers that are just going to be kind of against each other, but the team total currently is at 8, Boston favor minus 150. So it's not a high team total. It's not a team total of 9. It's roughly 8. It did jump from 7 to 8. So that is a little interesting for me, but I do like Happ's stuff here tomorrow. Really only giving up more than 3 runs 3 times the whole season. But I think after last game, he could be a player that I want to attack. One other low-tier player that I really think is going to have a bounce-back game is Kikuchi for the Seattle Mariners. Absolutely got smoked by Oakland in the most recent meeting, but played against some pretty tough teams the last 3 games, going against the Twins. They're in a 6K game with only 1 earned run, then back at Oakland, 13.3 fantasy points, and then at New York Yankees, throwing a 3K game but going 7.2 innings. He's a pitcher that really lasts, and he really goes the distance in innings and pitch counts over the last 4 games. And you can see here, the numbers has only been 1 negative the entire season. And I think that the Angels just aren't that great of a hitting team away. So I think that Kikuchi is going to be kind of a low-tier GPP play for me, and that's going to be a pitcher that I'm going to end up locking in tomorrow. This is most likely what my lineup is going to look like. I could potentially switch Kikuchi for J.A. Happ, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep Kikuchi in there because I think that he's a lower-tier value play that's going to get overlooked. For cash games, I would recommend Chris Sale and Carrasco. So let's jump into these bat stacks because some get a little expensive. Others are exactly where you'd like them to be, but my favorite top-tier bat stack of the night is the Cleveland Indians, going up against Manny Banuelos. I think that it's just an incredible matchup for me. A few of the players that I want to mention that I'm locking in are Francisco Lindor and Jordan Luplow. Both just absolutely have been mashing lefty pitching this whole year, especially Jordan Luplow. Just been kind of a turnaround year for him so far. He's been moved up to the upper part of the lineup with Lindor. He usually hits around 3 or 4 spot, and Lindor has just been incredible since coming back from his injury. These are the two players that I really want to lock into the lineup. Also a big fan of Carlos Santana and Mercado at 4,100. I think that both of these are great plays that you can look to kind of create a Cleveland stack. Let's look at another stack that I think is going to... I want it to be the chalkiest stack of the slate, but I don't think it's going to be. LA Dodgers are just... their power hitters are just a lefty team. And we know that a lot of their righty bats are so dirt cheap that it's going to create some insane value for us tomorrow. Few players that I want to mention. I want to lock in Chris Taylor and I want to lock in Justin Turner. These two players going up against Vargas, who's been coming off an injury and doesn't expect to go that deep into tomorrow's game. I think that they're going to be able to put a hurting on Vargas come game time. Another player to look out for is Kike Hernandez. I think that he just mashes lefty bats lefty pitching so well, and at 3,700 it just seems almost too cheap for me to not play him. So I think I'll end up probably playing Kike as well, but Chris Taylor and Justin Turner are just absolute locks for me. And then one last stack I want to talk about going up against Jacob Junis is going to be Texas Rangers. Pretty incredible this year for the Texas Rangers. Priced pretty appropriately, but I think that they're mispricing a few players here. A lot of the lefties up at the top, you're going to see Joey Gallo might not play. I see Chu is at 5,300, but I'm really interested in Ronald Guzman at first base. He's just an incredible hitter against righty pitching and has been heating up as of late. So I'd really want to get Guzman in as the Rangers are really starting to heat up as well as Nomar Mazara. I want to lock him in as well. And then double back... lock Kike into the lineup. So roughly that leaves you roughly 3,800 for catcher. Because the bat stacks, they're pretty well balanced tomorrow if you don't go with some high players, which I don't really think you need to, because I think that this low-hanging fruit value that you're going to be able to get tomorrow is just going to create a very, very balanced lineup for you, and I think that's the way to go. I think Chris Sale is definitely the auto lock of the slate as far as pitching, and Kikuchi or J.A. Happ are going to be my two values. As you can see, if you were to go ahead and take Kikuchi out and put in Happ, you would still have room for a catcher. You could still very well get Elias Diaz going up against Anderson or Sandy Leon or, somebody there as well. But for the sake of the video, I will go with Kikuchi, and that leaves you with a fair amount of options going at catcher. But this is roughly what my lineup's going to look like tomorrow. I think a 2-stack for the Cleveland Indians and Texas Rangers, and then 3 value plays for LA Dodgers for me. Roughly, I think the prices are just way too cheap, as Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez are sub 4K. For me, it's just kind of outrageous. And Texas Rangers lefties just really aren't priced appropriately other than Shin-Soo Choo. So I think that Guzman and Nomar Mazara really create some value tomorrow that you're not going to want to miss. So on this channel, we always do a dinger of the day call, and I think that tomorrow is going to be a pretty heavy hitting day, which is why I want to stack up on bats with all the terrible pitching on the slate. So my dinger of the day call on this slate is going to be Jordan Luplow for the Cleveland Indians going up against Manny Banuelos in a sort of more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark in the White Sox, assuming that the rain doesn't hinder the game, which it doesn't look like it is right now. If it does, for some reason, I do want to go ahead and predict Ronald Guzman as my other one to hit a homer tomorrow. I think he's just been on fire lately. So my first pick would definitely be Luplow going up against Banuelos and Guzman going up against Jacob Junis. So this is roughly what my lineup's going to look like come lock tomorrow. Potentially could switch Kikuchi for J.A. Happ. Not really sure where I'm going to be as of lock tomorrow with whatever lineups come out for the opposing teams and who may be sitting out of these lineups. But for hitters, this is definitely what my lineup's going to look like tomorrow. This is pretty much going to be my plug and play for tomorrow when it comes to lock. I think that a balanced lineup is definitely the way to go tomorrow, and you don't really need to pay up for too high of hitting when it comes to lock tomorrow. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Stay up to date with all the videos. Like the video as well as follow us on Twitter at @FantasyDigest_. You'll be able to get some of our game time updates as well as see all of our videos as they come out. I really appreciate all the support on the videos, and we'll be getting out an interview as well as a breakdown, a few more breakdowns the rest of this week to make up for this past weekend. Appreciate all the support in the DMs as well, letting me know that the videos have been helping a lot. If you have any questions regarding any of the plays or want to ask my opinion on any of the players tomorrow, hit me up in the DMs at @FantasyDigest_ on Twitter. And until next time, peace.